Welcome to my channel Starwire Daily. Please share and subscribe and press the bell icon for new updates. Picture this. The Prince of Darkness, slumped in his chair, barely recognizable as the man who once bit the head off a bat in front of thousands of screaming fans. His legendary guitarist, Zakk Wylde, watching helplessly as his mentor, his friend, his musical father figure slowly fades before his eyes. What Zakk recently revealed about those final precious moments together will absolutely shatter your heart. Welcome back to Starwire Daily, where we dive deep into the stories that matter most in entertainment. I'm your host, and today we're exploring one of the most emotionally devastating revelations to come out of rock and roll in years. Because when Zakk Wylde speaks about Ozzy Osbourne, you listen, and what he shared recently about their relationship, it's going to change everything you thought you knew about these two legends. Now, before we dive into this emotional roller coaster, let me paint you the full picture. Because this isn't just about a guitarist and his boss. This is about a bond forged in the fires of rock and roll hell, tested by decades of chaos, addiction, and the relentless pressure of fame. This is about two souls who found each other in the darkness and created some of the most powerful music the world has ever heard. The year was 1987. Ozzy Osbourne was at a crossroads. His relationship with guitarist Jake E. Lee had soured, and the Prince of Darkness needed someone new. Someone hungry. Someone who could match his intensity note for note, scream for scream. Enter Zakk Wylde, barely 20 years old, with fingers that could make a guitar weep and a presence that commanded attention even in Ozzy's shadow. But here's what most people don't know about that first meeting. Zakk almost didn't get the gig. He was so nervous, so intimidated by the legend sitting across from him, that he could barely get through the audition. Ozzy, in typical fashion, wasn't impressed by technical prowess alone. He wanted to see soul. He wanted to see someone who understood that music wasn't just about hitting the right notes. It was about bleeding emotion through every single chord. And then something magical happened. Zakk stopped trying to impress and started playing from his heart. He played like his life depended on it because in many ways, it did. That's when Ozzy knew. This kid wasn't just another guitarist. This was his musical soulmate. What followed was one of the most successful partnerships in metal history. Album after album, tour after tour, Zakk became more than Ozzy's guitarist. He became his confidant, his creative partner, and in many ways, the son Ozzy never knew he needed in his professional life. They shared hotel rooms on tours that seemed to last forever. They wrote songs that would define a generation. They survived the madness of the music industry together. But fame, as we all know, comes with a price. And for Ozzy, that price was steep. The years of abuse, the alcohol, the drugs, the constant pressure, they were taking their toll. Zakk watched it happen slowly, like a car accident in slow motion. The man he idolized, the mentor who had given him everything, was slowly disappearing before his eyes. Fast forward to recent years, and Ozzy's health struggles have become painfully public. Parkinson's disease, multiple surgeries, the constant battle with his own body that once seemed indestructible. And through it all, Zakk has been there. Not as an employee, but as family. In a recent interview that has sent shockwaves through the rock community, Zakk opened up about what he calls the hardest thing I've ever had to witness. He spoke about visiting Ozzy during one of his lowest points, when the effects of Parkinson's had left the once mighty frontman struggling with the simplest tasks. Zakk described walking into that room and seeing Ozzy, this man who had commanded stages in front of hundreds of thousands of people, who had been larger than life itself, sitting quietly, his hands trembling, struggling to hold a cup of tea. The silence, Zakk said, was deafening. Here was a man whose voice had defined heavy metal for generations, and now he could barely speak above a whisper. But here's what broke Zakk's heart the most. Despite everything, the illness, the pain, the uncertainty, Ozzy's first words to him weren't about his condition. They weren't complaints or expressions of self-pity. Instead, Ozzy looked up at his former guitarist, managed a small smile, and asked, "How's your family, Zakk? How are the kids?" Even in his darkest hour, Ozzy was more concerned about the people he loved than his own suffering. That's the man behind the legend. That's the Ozzy that Zakk Wylde fell in love with all those years ago, and it's the same man who continues to inspire him today. Zakk went on to describe how they spent that afternoon together. Not talking about music, not reminiscing about their glory days, but simply being present with each other. Ozzy shared stories about his grandchildren. Zakk talked about his latest projects with Black Label Society. They laughed about old times, about the chaos they had survived together, about the brotherhood that transcended any business relationship. But then came the moment that Zakk says will haunt him forever. As he was preparing to leave, Ozzy grabbed his hand, with what little strength he had, and looked him directly in the eyes. "Thank you," Ozzy whispered, "for everything. For the music, for the friendship, for never giving up on me." Zakk, this tough, tattooed metalhead who has faced down audiences of hostile bikers and survived the wildest tours in rock history, broke down. He couldn't hold back the tears, because he realized that Ozzy wasn't just thanking him for their professional relationship. He was thanking him for seeing the man behind the madman, for loving him despite his flaws, for being there when it really mattered. What makes this revelation even more heartbreaking is understanding the full scope of their relationship. Zakk wasn't just Ozzy's guitarist for a few years and then moved on. Their bond has endured for over 3 decades. Through lineup changes, personal struggles, career highs and lows, they've remained connected. Zakk has watched Ozzy become a father figure to millions of fans. But he's also been there for the private moments, the struggles with sobriety, the family crises, the health scares that never made the tabloids. In many ways, Zakk has been a witness to the full humanity of one of rock's most mythologized figures. He's seen Ozzy at his absolute worst, strung out, destructive, barely human, and at his absolute best, loving, generous, profoundly creative. And through it all, Zakk has maintained an unwavering loyalty that speaks to the depth of their connection. But this story isn't just about saying goodbye. It's about legacy, about the impact we have on the people around us, about the relationships that define us beyond our professional achievements. Zakk's revelation about those final moments with Ozzy is really a testament to the power of authentic human connection in a world that often prioritizes image over substance. Think about it. In an industry known for its ego, its competition, its tendency to treat people as commodities, these two men found something real, something that transcended the typical musician-employer relationship. They found brotherhood. And that's what makes Ozzy's simple thank you so powerful. It wasn't about the millions of records they sold together. It wasn't about the sold-out stadiums or the critical acclaim. It was about recognition, one human being acknowledging another for seeing him, truly seeing him, and choosing to love him anyway. You know, in our celebrity-obsessed culture, we often forget that our heroes are human beings first. They struggle with the same fears, the same insecurities, the same need for connection that we all do. Zakk's story reminds us that behind every larger-than-life persona is someone who just wants to be understood, to be valued for who they are rather than what they've accomplished. The music industry has given us countless stories of partnerships gone wrong, creative differences, financial disputes, ego clashes that destroyed decades of collaboration. But Zakk and Ozzy's relationship stands as a beautiful counterexample. It shows us what's possible when two people commit to supporting each other through everything life throws at them. And here's what makes this story even more poignant. While Zakk was sharing these intimate details about Ozzy's condition, he was also making it clear that the Prince of Darkness isn't done fighting. Despite his health challenges, despite the physical limitations that would crush most people, Ozzy is still creating, still pushing forward, still embodying the defiant spirit that made him a legend in the first place. Zakk spoke about Ozzy's determination to complete his final album, about his refusal to let Parkinson's define him, about his continued commitment to his fans and his music. Even in his weakened state, Ozzy's creative fire burns as bright as ever. He's still writing, still recording, still pouring his soul into every note. But the clock is ticking, and everyone knows it. That's what makes these moments between Zakk and Ozzy so precious, so irreplaceable. They're not just sharing memories. they're creating final ones. Every conversation, every shared laugh, every quiet moment together is a gift that can't be taken for granted. Zakk also revealed something that might surprise fans who see him as this tough, uncompromising metal warrior. He talked about how much he's learned from watching Ozzy face his illness with grace and humor. How Ozzy's approach to his declining health has actually made Zakk a better person, a more appreciative friend, a more present family man. Watching Ozzy deal with this, Zakk said, it puts everything in perspective. All the petty bullshit, all the industry politics, all the things that used to stress me out, none of it matters. What matters is being there for the people you love when they need you most. And isn't that the real lesson here? In our fast-paced world of social media drama and manufactured controversies, Zakk and Ozzy's story reminds us what actually matters. It's not about the number of likes or followers. It's not about winning awards or topping charts. It's about the connections we make, the love we share, the impact we have on each other's lives. The entertainment industry is notorious for its shallow relationships, its transactional friendships, its tendency to discard people when they're no longer useful. But Zakk's loyalty to Ozzy, his willingness to be vulnerable about their relationship, shows us a different way. It shows us that even in Hollywood, even in rock and roll, genuine love and friendship can flourish. As Zakk wrapped up his emotional interview, he made something clear. This isn't goodbye. Not yet. While Ozzy's health continues to decline, while the end of his active performing career grows closer, their friendship remains strong. They still talk regularly. They still share inside jokes that no one else understands. They're still there for each other in the ways that matter most. But Zakk's revelation about those quiet moments with Ozzy serves as a powerful reminder that time is precious. That the people we love won't be with us forever. That sometimes the most meaningful conversations happen in whispers rather than screams. The rock world has always celebrated the loud, the flashy, the over-the-top. But sometimes the most powerful moments are the quiet ones. The moments when the masks come off, when the personas fall away, when we're left with just two human beings sharing space and time together. So as we think about Zakk Wylde's heartbreaking revelation about his final moments with Ozzy Osbourne, let's remember that this isn't just a story about two rock stars. It's a story about friendship, about loyalty, about what it means to show up for someone when they need you most. It's a story about seeing beyond the image to the person underneath. It's a story about love in its purest form. The Prince of Darkness may be facing his twilight, but his legacy, both musical and personal, lives on through people like Zakk Wylde. Through the lives he's touched, the music he's created, and the relationships he's nurtured along the way. And maybe that's the most beautiful part of this whole story. While we're all getting caught up in the sadness of Ozzy's decline, we're also witnessing something incredible. The enduring power of human connection. The way that love transcends fame, success, and even illness itself. That afternoon that Zakk described, two old friends sitting together, sharing stories, expressing gratitude. You know, after hearing Zakk's story, I can't help but think about my own relationships. About the people in my life who have been there through everything. About the conversations I should have had, the gratitude I should have expressed, the time I've wasted on things that don't really matter. Because that's what great storytelling does, isn't it? It makes us reflect on our own lives. It makes us question our priorities. It reminds us what's truly important. And if there's one thing we can learn from Zakk Wylde and Ozzy Osbourne's incredible friendship, it's this. Love the people in your life while you can. Show up for them when they need you. Express your gratitude before it's too late. Because in the end, when everything else fades away, those connections are all we really have. What do you think about Zakk's emotional revelation? Have you ever had a moment like that with someone important in your life? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I always love hearing your stories and perspectives. If this story moved you the way it moved me, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories that matter most in entertainment. Ring that notification bell so you never miss our latest uploads, because trust me, we've got some incredible content coming your way. And remember, life is short, but the connections we make along the way can last forever. Until next time, this has been Star Wire Daily. Keep loving, keep living, and keep rocking.